Go ahead and put it on the.
It's says we're live, but it says like redirecting and stuff too.
Go ahead and put it on the.
Okay. Sick. All right, what's going on, y'all? No Name College Football Podcast. We're back. First ever live stream to the final rankings. The college football playoffs. It's 11:54 right now, so we got about 6 minutes until the show comes on. However, I'm not expecting the rankings to pop up until probably about another 10 to 20 minutes. So while we got some time, real quick, we are going to go over the games from yesterday and Friday night. We do have this up so that way we can show the rankings live when they're popping up. So Friday night, big game, winner probably more than likely getting in. And now that we know it's Washington, I'm going to say 99% are in the playoffs. Really good football game, though. Washington defeats Oregon for the second time this year by 3 points. Michael Penix Jr. looked really good. Dylan Johnson, 28 carries, 152 yards. Great game for their running back. And Washington was showing their strength, which is their offense, big time. Oregon had a good football game, too, just a little bit of a slow start. I think that's what kind of held them from being able to come back there in the end. Great season from Oregon. They're still going to get a New Year's Six bowl game. But Washington, big statement win, beating Oregon for the second time this year, and pretty much locking up their spot in the college football playoff. Jake, we got anything on this game?
I still think Michael Penix Jr. should win the Heisman just based on how he's performed in big games this year. I think the Heisman's more of a moments award than a numbers award. So I think Penix deserves to win it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of in the same boat. I definitely think it should be him or Jaden Daniels. But I think there's definitely no doubt in my mind right now that Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix will be the three guys sitting in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony at the very least. And then Liberty, big statement win over New Mexico State, which is we reviewed it a couple weeks ago. Had a 21-point win over Auburn. They win by 2 scores. And again, have a big statement. There's a really good chance now that this is the team that's going to get that Group of 5 spot in the New Year's Six Bowl. So shout out to Liberty for that. I mean, they looked really good. This is the first time I really watched them all year. Caden Salter is a monster sophomore quarterback. As you see over here, 319 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 12 carries for 165 yards and a touchdown. Liberty more than likely on their way to a New Year's Six Bowl. Troy, they had some garbage time touchdowns, so the score looks worse than it did, but they outplayed us straight up. Kamani Vidal, 26 carries for 233 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is absolutely insane. They were the better team, but shout out to the boys at App for even getting there after a really bad start of the season. But Troy, one of the best Group of 5 teams out there for sure. And for the first time in No Name College Football Podcast history, and me and Jacob having a podcast history, the Georgia Bulldogs have lost a football game. Jacob, I'll let you comment on that one. I know your thoughts and everything, but
it was going to happen eventually, right? Just too many things didn't go Georgia's way. We lost the turnover battle. We missed a field goal, had injuries. I'm not making excuses because I think these 2 teams are the 2 best teams in the country. And Alabama played a great game, but, it kind of just is what it is, I guess. I still think we had a really good year, and it's probably over, but, it happens. I'm hurt about it. I'm not going to lie, but it happens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, few plays can make a game go a different way, but that goes for any game really. But I think there was a few plays in this game that they went a different way, then there could have been different outcomes. But Alabama played a great football game. Can't take that away from them. Nick Saban gets the Dogs again in the SEC championship. Georgia played a good game too. I don't think there's really any doubt in my mind, and I've kind of felt this all year, that these 2 teams are 2 of the best 4 or 5 teams in the country. Should they be in the playoff? Yes. We can get into that later, but should they also be in the playoff? No, just because of everything that is around them. It sucks for these 2 teams that one of them, and maybe if not both of them, are not going to go to the playoffs. But I I really do think that one of these two teams should get in, but we can get into that later. Michigan did their thing, whatever. I'm not even going to talk about it. Florida State, Louisville, that this game is just an outlier because there's a bunch of people out there that I am guaranteeing haven't really watched Florida State all year and are like, this is the team that y'all want in the playoffs. Yeah, they're 13-0. They're a conference champion. They were down to their third string quarterback, who was a true freshman. They are going to get their second string back by the time it comes to the playoffs because they're maybe going to get in, more than likely probably going to get in. This was a bad game. This is a boring game to watch. But Florida State gets their job done. They did their part. Now they got to rely on the committee to let them in pretty much, which I think is they're in a position to get in. Texas, big statement win, destroyed Oklahoma State. With this win, Texas has a legitimate shot of getting in the college football playoff. Also, Quinn Ewers, amazing game from him. And then just because the show's getting about to start here, SMU Tulane. SMU dominates Tulane with their backup quarterback playing. First ever start. I think his name is Kevin Jennings. Shout out Tulane, especially their defense shut Tulane's offense down. SMU also in the conversation, I think, to potentially get that Group of 5 spot in the New Year's Six Bowl. Even though they weren't ranked as of last week's rankings. Miami, Ohio, with their get-back win over Toledo. This was them two played earlier in the season, and Toledo beat them. So a little bit of a revenge game there for Miami, Ohio. Shout out to them for shutting Toledo down and winning the MAC. And then this one felt good. Boise State with a win over UNLV, 44-20. Taylor Green, great game from Taylor Green. 226 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also had about 90 rushing yards and a touchdown also. Big win for them to win their conference after they fired their head coach halfway through the season. So the playoff rankings show is about to start. So I'm going to try to get this on here for everybody. And get some volume real quick before we get into it. Jacob, final thoughts, final prediction for this 14 playoff.
My prediction is Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, Texas 4. That would be my vote on it. But if you're asking me the four best teams, I think are Michigan, Texas, Georgia, and Alabama.
I'm gonna have to go with I think it is gonna be Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, Texas 4. I think that's how the committee has. What people don't understand is that you got to look at what the committee has done all year, right? And that's how they've had it all year. They've valued that Texas win over Alabama all year. They've valued FSU being an undefeated Power 5 team all year. And with that being said, I think that's why those four are going to be those four. If I had a vote, I'm putting in Michigan, Washington, Georgia, and Alabama because I do think those are the four best teams. And that might have been the same exact thing you said, but I wasn't listening, kind of. This is crazy. But it's one of my favorite days of the year. I said that earlier. One of my favorite college football days of the year. Selection show Sunday. We find out about all the bowl games, and we find out who's going to be vying for the national championship come January 1st and January, whatever it is, 9th or 10th. Well, the live stream is not working, so that's not fun.
I just have to watch it on.
Yeah, I've got it on my TV also, so that way I kind of know when they're about to bring them in. They're showing Michigan right now. Michigan's watch party. I do think there's no matter what happens. Okay, well, I think no matter what happens is you're gonna have Michigan and Washington as the 1 and 2 seed. But I do think that there is a world where there is multiple different conversations to be had. There's multiple different combinations that could be had of who that 3 and 4 seed are and where they are ranked. like I said, like you said, it's more than likely going to be the four that we named: Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas. But I really okay. Well, live stream is not working, I guess. So I guess we're not live streaming it. Try it like this. But man, I I don't know. There's just so many. There's so many combinations and possibilities. Yep, not gonna work. All right. Well, we do have it on our TV. Let's see what happens if we do it like this. I do have it on my TV also, so that way, well, maybe. Hey, there we go.
Michigan took care of Iowa after losing to TCU in the playoff last year. Michigan back, going to get another one. They shut out the Hawkeyes, who've had struggles on offense all year long as they roll for a third straight playoff spot. And Florida State, Jordan Travis out for the season. Tate Rodemaker out for that game. They turned to a freshman, Brock Glenn. They didn't get much out of him in the passing game, 55 yards, but they won. And they are perfect at 13-0. We've got reporters everywhere. Jen Ladders at Michigan. We have Molly McGrath
a little bit.
Chris Buttons at Texas. Marty Smith at Alabama. Laura Rutledge, where they're still holding out some hope at Georgia. And Harry Lyles, and perhaps the most controversial spot of them all, along with Marty at Alabama, at Florida State. We will hear from all of them coming up in a matter of moments. Glad to have you with us. College Football Playoff Selection Show. Reese Davis along with Booger McFarland, Joey Galloway, Greg McElroy, and Kirk Herbstreit. So, Kirk, you're usually the most powerful man in college football. At the moment, it's Brandon who's running the Viz graphics machine. He will get the rankings before anybody else. He's got to type them up. Once he gets them, he'll type them up. We'll see them whenever. What are you looking for?
Well, this is the first time since 2014 that we've had this. You know, we're five teams from the five power conferences are at the top as champions and deserve an opportunity. And this is where the committee is going to split hairs. And if you look at it, you know, after Michigan and Washington, you start to get to that 3 or 4 spot, you get to these cluster of teams. I think sometimes people look at this and they think, okay, head-to-head should matter. Keep in mind, this
here is one spot that I think that really matters.
It's not as if head-to-head matters more than the
for
other
Florida State
aspects.
and Alabama.
I mean, you go right
Not
down
that bottom part.
strength of schedule. Look at the last one.
Other relevant factors.
Such as unavailability of key players and coaches that could have affected the team's performance.
Okay.
So I think that's good. They have to be looking at that.
As maybe Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey looking around the field.
Is Florida State unequivocally a better team than these other teams? Then you put them in the top
State
4. If you are putting
Alabama
them there because they're undefeated,
both played LSU.
Them there because they
and if I'm not
the
mistaken,
ACC
Florida State won by more points.
You can see.
I think Florida State deserves to be in.
Like that's it. It's one of the factors, just like an injury is a factor. So how they play that out will be very interesting to see how it impacts Florida State positively or negatively.
Kirk, you're 100% right. I don't envy the committee today. It's a really difficult decision.
I just
two
think
teams that are really valuable are
Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Texas.
When you look at what
those are the four, like we said, those are the 4 teams that are deserving.
Practice what they preach.
But I think
they've been telling us for 10 years.
Like I said, Michigan, Washington,
right now,
locks at 1 and 2.
Without a shadow
but those
of a doubt,
3 and 4
Alabama
spots, man, there's so many. And the
now,
one team, and me and you and our buddy Riley talked about this.
A team that is currently undefeated.
The one team that is being swept under the rug right now.
With a great non-conference
the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Or will they move them against a team?
They're not.
Nobody's talking about them. Remember, they were the highest ranked team.
Alabama and Florida State will rage on.
Did not lose.
They really want to tell us and continue to tell us the 4 best
did not
teams,
lose.
It should be Alabama in the 4 spot.
Remember, they were above Texas and Bama.
It really does. It seems easy to me. Now,
I am interested to see the Lucas Group of 5 spot. I'm interested to see, do they move SMU in over Liberty because they beat Tulane, or do they just give it to Liberty? Because man, I would love to see Liberty play somebody like Penn State or something like that. That would be awesome. That'd be hilarious.
And so when people start to think about this committee and what their job is, their job
got
is
8 people
just
watching.
give us the
Going
4
on, guys.
best teams. That's it. Not any connections to anything. Not looking at who's the best games. The 4 best teams.
Whoever's watching, if y'all can, drop it in the chat.
or is it a
Who
combination
y'all
of both?
got?
Because I would challenge
four.
each and every one of you. How do you look at a team from an eye
Interested to
test
see what everybody
standpoint
else's opinions
without
are.
understanding who they played, who they beat, which gets us back to the resume. So at some point you have to combine both, and you have to understand that we have to
Booger
look at the
McFarland.
games played on the field.
My guy
I
Reese
never want to
Davis.
turn
Shout out
college
Reese
football
Davis.
into a beauty contest.
Super nice
This
guy.
is not a beauty pageant. Let's judge them how they look. We have to count the games. And to me, I hope the committee understands that Texas went to Alabama and beat them. I hope they understand that Florida State, regardless of who was playing quarterback, went 13-0 and won a Power 5 conference. And there's a reason that somebody like that has never been left out. And I just hope they do the right thing today.
Shout out Reese Davis. Me and Reese
There's
Davis
something that's
last
going
year.
to happen that hasn't happened before. Because in addition to an undefeated team having never been left out, only one time has a team won a conference championship game in the Power 5 been left out. That was Ohio State. And also, you haven't had anybody come from lower than 6 to make the playoff. Somebody's going to do that. Either Texas or Alabama will be doing that. While Florida State is sweating it out, while Alabama's sweating it out, maybe even Texas to a little degree.
Nobody.
Others aren't.
Oklahoma
Certainly they
grabbing
aren't at Washington, and they are not at Michigan, where Jen Latta is at the watch party. Those two teams, we figure, will be 1-2 when the bracket is unveiled in a few moments, Jen. So what's the mood like with the Wolverines, who are going for the 3rd consecutive year, but looking for their first playoff win?
Yeah, we're hanging out with the hardware here in Indianapolis in the watch party room. I'm told that this room last night was standing room only as the Michigan
Wow, so they're
Wolverines
still in
celebrated that
Indianapolis. They didn't even go back to
straight
Michigan yet.
title, and everybody was excited, staying up till about 4 in the morning. Some players even saying 5:30 in the morning.
Wolverines celebrated until 4 a.m.
Sleep deprived or tired, but more than likely, guys, it's confidence. As that conference
I like that,
champion
though. I like that.
undefeated, they know
No
they are in
preference
the
on
college
rankings,
football
still more
playoffs,
goals to
and they
accomplish.
told
That is confidence right there. I kind of like that.
as soon as those rankings
Michigan's
are
out here
revealed,
saying
they
we
will
don't
get
care
back
who
on
we
the
play.
plane and head to Ann Arbor.
They want Florida State.
Oh,
They
everybody
have for the
wants
last
Florida
2
State, right?
seasons,
I
and
mean,
then
everybody.
they will lock in on the playoff opponent, telling me there are still more goals to achieve with this team.
No watch party for Washington. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Hey, Molly.
Molly McGrath is in Washington.
Hey,
Molly, what's it
Molly.
like in Seattle right now?
Well, Reese, it's a lot quieter here at Washington. Their head coach, Kalen DeBoer, just arrived at the Huskies facility. He's one of the only people in this building, and he'll watch the rankings reveal alone in his office. There is no watch party. There's no celebration surrounding today's announcement. And DeBoer said that's really proof of his team's confidence. They expected to be here all along. DeBoer said there's a real case for his team to be ranked number 1.
I think there is. I think there is a real case for Washington to be ranked number 1.
Location because of location and travel and the history of that game, especially in the final year of the Pac-12.
What do you think about that?
Marveled at the coincidence.
I think there's a case.
Won a national championship, was in the Rose Bowl against Michigan on January 1st, 1992. If they play in that game, it'll be 32 years to the day of their last title, Reese.
And Molly, Washington does have an edge in strength of schedule. They also have a win against, or more wins against ranked opponents than Michigan does. So perhaps you'll get a bit of a surprise and see Washington at number 1. Though based on previous rankings, one would expect
I think that's going to
that
play
would go to the Wolverines. But we'll wait and see
factor.
once Brandon gets the word
I think
typed
that's
into
going to
the
play a
graphics
huge factor.
So here are the
in what Florida State
resumes
gets in
of
on.
the other teams fighting for this spot. You look at the strength of the record. SOR means how an average top 25 team, what the percentage chance that they would achieve the record that they did, and you see all fare very well. Strength of schedule, Alabama has a huge edge, Texas then, and then Florida State well back in the pack, and then Georgia still has the 37th ranked schedule. So here are the reporters, as you know, Chris, Marty, Laura, and Harry at the various spots. Chris, it seems that with the conference championship and also the head-to-head win against Alabama, that among
I thought that was Tyrann Mathieu for a second.
Who, Harry Lyon?
They are very confident in where they are right now. They're having a watch party a couple feet away from me. Confidence also comes from the fact when you look at what they've done on the field and also with their resume. Big 12 champions, and now they can say they have a win over the SEC champions. When you look back at that early season win against Alabama, Steve Sarkisian said that's the biggest bullet point on their resume, because if it was easy, more teams would do it, but they don't. However, confidence doesn't necessarily equal sleep. Not a lot of sleep for Sark last night, because at this point, it's out of their hands. To a place where there also probably wasn't a lot of sleep, we go out to Tuscaloosa
Alabama.
and Marty Smith.
Chris, thank you so much. Good morning. All is quiet here in
Well,
Tuscaloosa
Marty.
as well, although Coach Saban did just walk right by me. He's just entered the facility a few moments ago. Offensive coordinator Tommy Reese walked over to me and goes, "What do you know, man? Tell me something." I said, "Sorry, man. We'll all find out in just a few minutes." But as Coach Saban said last night, they believe that they have proven their case. They beat Georgia, the #1 team in the country, winner of 29 straight and back-to-back national championships. So they believe their resume stands up against anybody in the country. I talked to Tyler Booker last night, the offensive lineman for Alabama, on the field after the championship game, and asked him, "What did you guys just show America?" He said that the Bama standard can only be imitated, not replicated, and we hope the committee will give us 2 more games to prove it. Now let's head over to Championship Town currently, Athens, Georgia, where Laura Rutledge is with the Dogs.
Marty, these Dogs are hoping that the standard set throughout the regular season is what sticks in the committee's mind, not what happened in the SEC championship game where they lost to Alabama after 29 straight wins. And Kirby Smart actually used the words of Bill Hancock, the college football playoff executive director, saying this is not about the 4 most deserving teams. This is simply about the 4 best teams. Kirby said we are 100% one of the 4 best teams. And he told me he hopes they look at the eye test. He said, if you see who we've beat, the top 20 teams that we've had success against on the road, and the way that we've played as a complete team, both offensively and defensively, he hopes that's enough for a team that he cares a whole lot about. Let's go to Harry Lyles in FSU.
Harry Lyles.
Laura, I'm here inside the Champions Club, inside of Bill Campbell Stadium, where there is more optimism than concern for this Florida State team. Tate Rodemaker and Jordan Travis were the first 2 up here, and as you can see, they've been joined by their teammates up here. When I spoke to Coach Mike Norvell earlier, despite only getting less than 2 hours of sleep, he was very optimistic. He said, we've done this offensively, defensively, and with special teams, and after last night, we've done it with 3 quarterbacks. He feels good about their chances. Reese, we'll see how it goes.
Let's get an inception right here.
Aaron, we will in a matter of moments. You know, as they say, if the facts are on your side, argue the facts. If the law is on your side, argue the law. If neither are on your
man,
side,
show us the
then
ranking. At
jump
least show
up
us like
and pound that
25.
table
We'll give
as
us like
hard as
1
you
team.
can, and the coaches are doing just that.
Dang.
It's not the most deserving. It's the best. If you're going to tell me somebody sitting in that committee room and doesn't think that Georgia team is not one of the best 4 teams, I don't know if they're in the right profession.
We won the SEC. We beat the #1 team in the country. If you really want the 4 best teams, I think this team is one of the 4 best teams and one of the teams that's deserving to be in the playoff.
This may be a little bullish of me saying, but we'll play anybody in the country. We'll find out if we're good enough or not. But we have the team, the culture, the scheme, and the versatility of this team to play against anybody.
I believe in this team. I believe in what they can do. They showed up every single week and done it. So I don't really care about what everybody else's opinions are. Whatever the next opportunity is, I promise you they're going to show up.
The college
football. Oh my God, we're gonna go to commercial, man. Come on.
Is presented by AT&T.
Come on, ESPN.
Connecting.
Give us something.
Everything. And
give us
by
something.
Mercedes-Benz. The holiday love celebration is here. Now through January 2nd.
All right, so we're gonna get commercials here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute this and so I don't really know how to feel about this right now. I think yeah, my opinion hasn't changed. I just think there's 2 sides for me with FSU right now, right? And there's the criteria that they popped up, right? The whatever injuries and stuff like that it said thing. But then there's also the head-to-head opponents. Like I already said, they beat LSU by more than Alabama did. And I know that that's a different FSU team. I think it's a different LSU team too. But then at the same time, they popped up the resume comparison, and you've got Alabama, who has a top 5 strength of schedule and strength of record, while FSU's strength of schedule over here is 55th. So I don't really know what to think right now. I just think that I think there's a lot of I've said it multiple times now, but I think there's so many possibilities right now. And I think there's just no way to really figure out what's going to actually happen. You got any opinions, Jacob, right now? You staying the same?
The same. I don't know. I don't want to be right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're a Georgia fan. You
It's
wouldn't.
It's not even that though. My opinion, it's not even an opinion, it's a fact, is that Georgia and Alabama would be favored over every other team in the country, and neither one of them is going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got to win your games.
How do you feel about That's right. They don't reveal the top 25 until like 2:30.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I forgot this is only the playoffs. Well,
because all the bowl committees have to send out their formal invites and they got to accept them.
That's true. How do you feel? But speaking of that, I was about to say something about that. That's why I just thought about that because I saw it on the bottom there. How do you feel about the group of 5 right now? Who are you thinking? Do you think Liberty gets in there now, or do you think they'll move SMU up in front of them even though they weren't ranked, or what do you think?
I think Liberty.
I agree. I think they have the case for it. They might not have the best strength of record and everything, but I think they have the case for it.
All right.
Alabama Crimson Tide. Texas Longhorns. Michigan Wolverines. To the end zone. Florida State Seminoles. Georgia Bulldogs. You will take what belongs to you. Who will be in the college football playoff? Might as well be.
Let me tell you, though, there are 5 coaches right now that have their fingers crossed that Georgia's not in.
6 highest ranked conference champions make it into the
Jim
field
Harbaugh,
automatically, but we've got
Steve
one more ride
Sarkisian,
here.
Mike
12:30
Norvell,
Eastern Time, Boone
Kalen
Morgan,
DeBoer,
the chair of the College
Nick
Football
Saban.
Committee, will be here to answer questions.
Does Nick Saban have his fingers crossed?
Coaches
We don't want to play this again.
football playoff. And at 2:30 Eastern Time during our extravaganza, the rest of the New Year's 6 bowls and the entire
Trevor Lawrence.
final one College Football Playoff Selection Committee for this year will be revealed. That's what they're playing for. College Football Playoff National Championship Trophy presented by
Clemson was in 3 of those national championships showing up.
So let's do it one final time. Last year of the 4-team playoff, and we haven't had this much anticipation since the first year in 2014 when Ohio State, Baylor, TCU were fighting for one spot.
All right.
There are 4
I'm
teams
not looking
for
at my
2
screen
spots,
anymore.
it would appear today.
On full screen.
Rankings are in. Brandon has put them into the Viz
I'm not looking at
graphics
the screen
machine,
above
and
me
we're
anymore
about to
'cause it's
unveil
ahead.
who will be
Here we
in the
go.
college football playoff for the 2023 season. It is presented
Go
by
back to small screen. I can't see it.
the final rankings from the
Go back to small screen. I can't see it.
one team in the country is.
Michigan.
We're seeing these when you do, and it's Michigan.
Washington
Some
at
thought
2. Go ahead and
because
pop it up.
Washington has a couple more wins against the top 25 that maybe the Huskies would move into that spot. But the Wolverines, we assume, will go to the Rose Bowl. The semifinals are in the Rose Bowl and in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day, the perfect setting for the semifinals. And the Wolverines are going for the 3rd straight year. They're 13-0. There's Jim Harbaugh. Who's got it better than you, Jimmy?
Michigan, #1 team in the country every year.
Determined, resolute, probably. Oh, I don't see any whole milk there, just orange juice. All right, so who's number 2? We assume it will be the Washington Huskies.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. What a job. Caitlin DeBoer and Washington ripped through 9.5-point underdog to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game.
Penix
People thought they
Jr. and the
escaped in
Washington
Seattle,
Huskies.
and they absolutely made a statement that they're going to the
Number
playoff for the
2.
first time since the 60s.
Florida State will be number 3.
Assumed that Oregon was going to win that game. They and people felt very confident Oregon was going to win that game. And the way Washington took the field and started that game set the tone, and it never looked back from there.
And to me, the physicality of the Huskies dominated. You thought Oregon was going to be the more physical team. Washington controlled the line of scrimmage and won the game.
Now remember how the committee does this. You have 6 teams in a group, then you rank them, and the top 3 are taken off the board then, and then they repeat the process. So with the rankings, the final time they went through the group phase.
Come on, baby.
Here's the 3rd team that was taken off and put on the board. Who's number 3? The Texas Longhorns.
No.
Steve Sarkisian's team winning a conference championship for the first time since 2009. And making
Are they really
going to
do it to Florida State like that?
Longhorns really haven't even been close to making the playoff, and here they are, final year of the 14 field.
Are they really doing Florida State like that?
We assume that will put them in New Orleans.
It's got to be Alabama at 4 now, right?
The 2nd seed and wear the home jerseys.
It's going to be Alabama at 4.
That's going to be somewhat of an advantage from a crowd standpoint for Texas, one would think, if that's indeed how the semifinals.
It's going to be Alabama at 4, dude.
Both sides they have. So we have Michigan, Washington, Texas. As we said right off the top, you've got these 1 spot left. You've got 4 teams with resumes. Texas now has made it into the field. Let's have a look at these.
Come on, ESPN. Stop doing this to us.
1 spot. Alabama, Georgia, Florida State. Kirk, how should this come out in your judgment?
Alabama should be a 4.
Alabama should be
the
a 4.
The injury to Florida State. You can't avoid it. It's nothing against what they accomplished. Obviously, what they accomplished is
Alabama's
extraordinary.
they're doing it. I'm telling you, I think they're doing it. I think
but that
they're doing
injury to Jordan Travis is part of what the committee takes into consideration. If you're looking at Alabama versus Florida State under the current team and roster, it'd be very, very hard to imagine Alabama not being there at 4.
We go back to the rankings in the unveil. Let's look now at number 6 and see who's been eliminated.
6 is Georgia.
Came down to who's number 6? The Georgia Bulldogs. So after consecutive national championships, Georgia will not compete in the playoff, and this is also the first time that the team that was number 1 in the penultimate rankings has fallen completely out of the college football playoff field. So this leaves us with the decision that everyone thought we would end up having. Florida State or Alabama. 1 spot. Whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4?
I told you. I told you.
And
I told you they were going to do it.
To the playoff.
Wow.
So we have another unprecedented situation as Florida State winds up at number 5. And Florida State is the first undefeated champion from a Power 5 conference to fail to make the college football playoff era.
Wow. I'm not shocked with how Florida State played the last couple weeks. They just have dropped off considerably at quarterback, and it's understandable. Feel terrible. They did everything you could possibly ask them to do, and here they are on the outside looking in. A lot of people will have big issues.
I think I'm gonna stop it right there.
Are we getting the rematch of week 2?
Dude, I don't know. I legit, like, right now, like, usually in the past couple of years, right, when this show has came on, and I've seen 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3, I've kind of already had an idea, like, that team is winning this game and this team is winning this game, and that's who we're going to get in the national championship, right? But I think this is the first year looking at these 2 matchups and looking at these 4 teams where I'm like, I don't know who is going to win either one of these games, like, actually.
Well, remember, last year in the bowl game, Washington and Texas played.
Yeah.
Washington beat them by 2 scores.
Yeah, but, dude, I mean, these 2 games are going to be good games. I can go ahead and guarantee that right now. These 2 games will be good football games.
If you're not a fan of the forward pass, that Alabama-Michigan game is the game for you.
But, dude, I feel so bad. I
Well,
hate Florida State, but I feel so bad for every single person a part of that program and a part of that fan base.
There's nothing more they could have done.
I know. I mean, if you thought that the College Football Playoff Committee had an SEC bias, you definitely think it now. If you didn't think it before. And here's my thing, and this is why I'm so glad the 12 playoff is coming this year. And I said it before. At the beginning of this live stream, I don't care that Alabama is 12-1 in the SEC champion and that they just beat Georgia. Florida State was 13-0, won their conference, beat a team that Alabama beat by more points. Did Alabama play Florida this year?
No.
No. Okay, so scratch that. They played a common opponent, okay? They played a common opponent. 45-24.
And Bama played them at home.
Yeah. And what people also don't forget or forgetting is that this man right here went out of a football game. And they still only beat him by 2 touchdowns. Now, I know. This team right here is a different team than they are right now. But 13-0. Look, right here. I love it already. I love it right here. Florida State did exactly what Alabama did. Wow. And this is where I was getting to. Why did Florida State even step on a football field this year?
Selfishly, though, Georgia's going to play Florida State now in the bowl game.
Think so? I think so too. I think that would be what is it this year? Orange Bowl? That's what it was last year. Tennessee Clemson was Orange Bowl. So
thing is I mean, I'm biased, but this will probably get proven right.
That they shouldn't have been in, yeah. But still,
if they win, then they can claim a national title.
Potentially. What if Alabama loses to Michigan?
I just don't see that happen.
Let's see what talking about over here.
So they projected Georgia versus Penn State, Alabama versus Louisville, but now Georgia's going to move into the Orange Bowl spot, and then
and that's the other thing that sucks for Louisville because that pushes Louisville out of this. That pushes Louisville down to somewhere down here, like
where they deserve to be.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, so man, so I'm gonna assume that Ohio State's gonna end up being 7 and Oregon's gonna end up being 8. And I'm gonna say the top 10 is gonna round out with Missouri, Penn State, maybe Ole Miss somehow gets there, but I mean,
I think Oregon Liberty is probably gonna happen, and then Georgia State.
Yeah.
Peach Bowl will be Missouri. Or is the Peach Bowl, it's at large versus at large. So, yeah, it'll be.
I'm going to go. This is how I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go Orange Bowl will be Georgia, Florida State. Okay. They're going to put Florida State in this game because it's in Florida. It'll be Georgia, Florida State here. I'm going to go. I like Oregon Liberty as a matchup. I think that's what they do, Oregon Liberty. We'll just keep it on the Fiesta Bowl. I could see Missouri, Ohio State because you can't play Penn State and Ohio State against each other. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to go
Ole Miss.
I guess Ole Miss slides in there, right? I mean, they're going to be the highest ranked team. Unless you want to slide another Pac-12 team in Arizona. Oh, Oklahoma could slide in, maybe.
That's who it'll be. It'll be Oklahoma. Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all we can really bring you, I guess.
Yep.
Final thoughts, Jacob?
I'm sick for Florida State.
Yeah.
Georgia didn't deserve it. We lost, but Florida State deserved it.
And I'm out on my final thoughts. I already went through what I had to say. But if y'all are a fan of the episode, or not the episode, the podcast, the show, channel, whatever you want to call it, I said in our last video, we plan on making a new channel for our podcast, a channel solely devoted to our podcast, college ball content. But again, I also said this in the last video, we appreciate all y'all support this year. We're glad we were able to do this year. And we'll see y'all next time on No Name College Ball Podcast.